The price fix of your groceries.
Yeah. Vlogging pod starts like a conversation. Cup of coffee with no destination. Just voices trying to understand what's happening across this land. From your stories told to the pages turned. Every question, every word, supported by SheShareStudios.net.
Hello, and welcome to the Vlogging Pod. When the lowest price isn't really the lowest. In 1936, Congress passed a law called Robinson-Patman Act. At its core, the law was designed to protect competition between large chain retailers and smaller businesses. Congress was concerned that powerful realtors could use their enormous buying power to demand special prices and benefits from manufacturers that smaller competitors could never obtain. The Robinson-Patman Act generally prohibits certain forms of price discrimination when a seller provides different prices, discounts, promotional payments, services, or benefits to competing buyers at the difference harms competition. That doesn't mean every volume discount is illegal. There are exceptions and legal defenses. For example, a seller may sometimes justify a lower price because it actually costs less to serve a particular customer or because the seller is legitimately meeting a competitor's price. But the basic idea behind the law was fairly simple. A giant retailer shouldn't be able to use its size to obtain secret advantages from a supplier that make it impossible for smaller competitors to compete on equal terms. The law is still in the books today, but enforcement of it largely disappeared for decades. And that brings us to PepsiCo and Walmart. In January 2025, just 3 days before the current administration was inaugurated, the Federal Trade Commission sued PepsiCo under the Robinson-Patman Act. The FTC alleged that PepsiCo had given one of its largest retail customers special pricing advantage and promotional benefits while denying comparable benefits to competing retailers. The FTC initially did not publicly identify that retailer. It was Walmart. According to the FTC, the alleged practices disadvantaged everyone from large grocery chains to family-owned grocery stores, convenience stores, and independent retailers. And the FTC said something else that should matter to anyone buying groceries. It alleged that these practices resulted in inflated prices for American families. But here's where this gets even more interesting. After additional information about the case became public, allegations emerged describing something much bigger than Walmart simply getting Pepsi products cheaper. The allegations describe Pepsi monitoring competitors' retail prices and, in some instances, taking action when another retailer attempted to sell Pepsi products for less than Walmart. A later consumer lawsuit against PepsiCo and Walmart describes the alleged result as a price floor. And understanding that distinction is incredibly important. Imagine Walmart sells a Pepsi product for $5. Another grocery store wants your business, so it decides to sell the same product for $4.50. Normally, that's competition. Walmart could respond by dropping its price to $4.25. Then another store could respond again. Prices move downward because companies are competing for your money. That's the basic idea behind price competition. But imagine instead that Walmart says at $5, stays at $5, and the other retailers is effectively prevented from staying at $4.50 because its wholesale costs, promotional support, and or any other financial terms are changed. The, the competitor raises its price back above $5. Walmart still advertised itself as having the lower price, but Walmart did not necessarily lower the market price. The alleged arrangement raised the floor underneath everybody else. That's an entirely different thing. And according to the allegations now contained in litigation against PepsiCo and Walmart, that is essentially what happened with certain Pepsi products. Now, here's another part of the story. The FTC never got to litigate its PepsiCo case to a final judgment. On May 22nd, 2025, under the new administration, FTC leadership, the commission voted unanimously to dismiss the case without prejudice. FTC Chairman Andrew Ferguson argued that the previous commission had rushed the lawsuit into court just before the change in administration and said the case was legally weak. PepsiCo denied the allegation and has maintained that its practices were lawful. So there was never a court ruling establishing that PepsiCo violated the Robinson-Patman Act in this case. But that leaves me with a much larger question. The Robinson-Patman Act has existed since 1936. It was specifically created because Congress were worried that enormous retailers could use their buying power to obtain advantages unavailable to their smaller competitors. Yet, federal enforcement of that law largely disappeared for decades. So, if these allegations involving one of America's largest manufacturers and one of America's largest retailers is true, how unusual is this really? Is this one isolated case, or is it simply one argument that happened to get investigated? And when Americans look at grocery prices and wonder why competition doesn't always seem to bring those prices back down, should we always be asking what is happening behind the price tag? Because there's a major difference between being the store with the lowest price and participating in a market where nobody else can realistically go any lower. One is competition, the other can create a price floor. And if companies aren't competing to see who can sell something for less, consumers may ultimately be the ones paying the difference. Today's sources come from Federal Trade Commission. FTC sues PepsiCo for rigging soft drink competition, January 17, 2025. Federal Trade Commission, Robinson-Patman Act, General Principles, Commission Proceedings, and Selected Issues. Federal Trade Commission, FTC, dismisses lawsuit against PepsiCo, May 22nd, 2025. U.S. District, Southern District of New York Consumer Class Action complaint against PepsiCo and Walmart, December 2025. The Wall Street Journal, Pepsi worked for keeping prices higher at retailers to protect Walmart prices, FTC found. Reuters, PepsiCo Walmart hits with class action over alleged price fixing, December 16, 2025. Thank you for listening. Until next time, bye-bye for now.